Shrimad's Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Granth Shrimadbhagavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship, Shri Shivarakunja Bihari ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev, Mai Subhadra ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Gauritai ki, Nitai Go Premi, all glories to the assembled, all glories to the assembled, all glories to the Lord and Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraya Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. I'm reading first from Ekadasi book, today being Bharutini Ekadasi, I believe it is. Does anybody know for sure? Let's see, I read the last one was coming up, so, okay. Yudhisthira Maharaj said, O Vasudeva, I offer my most humble obeisances unto you. Please now describe the Ekadasi of the dark fortnight of the month of Vaishak, April through May, including the specific merits and influence. Lord Sri Krishna replied, O King, in this world and the next, the most auspicious and magnanimous Ekadasi is Bharutini Ekadasi, which occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Vaishaka. Whoever observes a complete fast on this sacred day has his sins completely removed, obtains continuous happiness, and achieves all good fortune. Fasting on Bharutini Ekadasi makes even an unfortunate woman fortunate. Upon anyone who observes it, this Ekadasi bestows material enjoyment in this life and liberation after death. It destroys the sins of all and saves people from the miseries of rebirth. By observing this Ekadasi properly, King Mandata was liberated. Many other kings also benefited from observing it. Kings such as Maharaj Danudamar in the Ikshvaku dynasty, who became free from leprosy, resulting from a curse Lord Shiva had imposed as a punishment. Whatever merit one obtains by performing austerities and penances for 10,000 years is achieved by a person who observes Bharutini Ekadasi. See why I keep Ekadasi now, right? This merit one achieves by donating a great amount of gold during a solar eclipse at Kurukshetra is gained by one who observes this Ekadasi fast. Indeed, he who observes this one Ekadasi with love and devotion certainly attains his goals in this life and the next. In short, this Ekadasi is pure and very enlivening, and a destroyer of all sins. Better than giving horses in charity is giving elephants. And better than giving elephants is giving land. But better than giving land is giving sesame seeds. And better than that is giving gold. Still better than giving gold is giving food grains. For all the forefathers, demigods, and human beings become satisfied by eating grains. Thus, there is no better charity than this in the past, present, or future. Yet learned scholars have declared that giving away a young maiden in marriage to a worthy person is equal to giving food grains. Moreover, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has said that giving cows in charity is equal even to giving food grains. Still better than all these charities is teaching spiritual knowledge to the ignorant. Yet all the merits one can attain by performing all these acts of charity are attained by one who fasts on Bharutini Ekadasi. Today, one who lives off the wealth of his daughters suffers a hellish condition until the inundation of the entire universe. O Bharat, therefore, one should be especially careful not to use the wealth of his daughter. O best of kings, any householder who takes his daughter's wealth out of greed, who tries to sell his daughter, or who takes money from the man to whom he has given his daughter in marriage, such a householder becomes a lowly cat in his next life. Therefore it is said that whoever, as a sacred act of charity, gives in marriage a maiden decorated with various ornaments, and who also gives a dowry with her, obtains merit that cannot be described even by Chitragupta, the chief secretary of Yamaraj in the heavenly planets. That very same merit, however, can easily be achieved by one who fasts on Bharotini Ekadasi. And you are all going to get the benefit of it today. We're going to recite them all. The following things should be given up on Dasami, the day before Ekadasi: eating on bell metal plates, eating any kind of urad dal, eating red lentils, eating chickpeas, eating kondo, eating spinach. There's a note to what kondo is, I'm not sure what that is. Eating red lentils, eating chickpeas, eating honey, eating in another person's home, eating more than once, and sex. On Ekadasi itself, one should give up the following: gambling, sports, sleeping during the daytime, betel nut and its leaf, brushing one's teeth, spreading rumors, fault-finding, talking to the spiritually fallen, anger and lying. On Dwadasi, the day after Ekadasi, one should give up the following: eating on bell metal plates, eating urad dal, red lentils or honey, lying, strenuous exercise or labor, eating more than once, sex, shaving, smearing oil on one's body, and eating in another's home. Lord Sri Krishna continued, whoever observes the Bharotini Ekadasi in this way becomes free from all sinful reactions and returns to the eternal spiritual abode. One who worships Lord Janardhan on this Ekadasi by staying awake throughout the night also becomes free from all sins and attains to the spiritual abode. Therefore, O King, he who is frightened of his sins and their attendant reactions, and thus of death itself, must observe Bharotini Ekadasi by fasting very strictly. Finally, O noble Yudhisthira, he who hears or reads this glorification of the sacred Bharotini Ekadasi obtains the merit earned by donating 1,000 cows in charity. And at last he returns home to the abode of Lord Vishnu. So it is also explained by Lord Krishna himself in the beginning that simply by the recitation of the names, all of the names of Ekadasi, on Ekadasi, one gets the benefit for keeping the Ekadasi. So we can do that. We will use the Vedic name. So I'll say the name and you can just repeat it. Utpana.
Utpana.
Mokshada.
Mokshada.
Sapala.
Sapala.
Putrada.
Putra.
Satila.
Satila.
Jaya.
Jaya.
Vijaya.
Vijaya.
Amalaki.
Amalaki.
Papamochani.
Amamochani.
Kamada. Bharotini.
Bharotini.
Mohini.
Mohini.
Apara.
Upara.
Nirjal.
Nirjal.
Yogini.
Yogini.
Padma.
Padma.
Kamika.
Kamika.
Putrada.
Putra.
Aja.
Aja.
Parivartini.
Parvatini.
Indira.
Indira.
Papankush.
Papankush.
Rama.
Rama.
Haribodini.
Haribodini.
Padmini.
Padmini.
Parama. Your saintly soul. Jai. Shri Ekadasi ki jai. Shri Bharotini Ekadasi ki jai. So next Mohini Ekadasi is coming. And today's verse is verse We're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 5. Is it verse 18? 18. Tasyaiva Eto Prayateta Koviro Tasyaiva Heto Prayateta Koviro Na Labhyate Yad Brahmatam Upari Ada Na Labhyate Yad Brahmatam Upari Ada Tal Labhyate Dukavad Anyata Sukam Talabhyate Dukavad Anyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Brahmhasa Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramhasa Tasyaiva Heto Prayate Takovido Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyada Talabhyate Dukhavaranyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramasa Tasyaiva Heto Praryate Takobito Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyada Talabhyate Dukhavaranyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramasa Krishna Tasyaiva Heto Prayate Takovido Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyada Talabhyate Dukhavaranyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramasa
Tasveva Hato Prayata Kovido
Tasyaiva Heto Prayate Takovido
Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Upare Adha
Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyada
Talabhyate Dukhavad Anyata Sukham
Talabhyate Dukhavaranyata Sukam
Kalina Sarvatra Gabhira Ramhasa
Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramasa Tasyaiva Heto Praryate Takovido Nalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyada Talabhyate Dukhavaranyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramasa Tasya for that purpose Eva only Eto reason Prayateta should endeavor Kovida one who is philosophically inclined Na not Labhate is not obtained. Yat, what? Brahmatam, wandering. Upadiyada, from top to bottom. Tat, that. Labhyate, can be obtained. Dukkhavat, like the miseries. Anyata, as a result of previous work. Sukham, sense enjoyment. Kalena, in the course of time. Sarvatra, everywhere. Gabira, subtle. Ramasa, progress. I'll read it one more time. Tasyaiva heto praryate tako viro na labhyate yad brahmatam uparyada kalabhyate dukkhavaranyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabira ramasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for the should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmalok, down to the lowest planet, Patalok. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Please repeat. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable, even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patal. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Pataloka. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somaras, and the Pitraloka is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by some mechanical arrangement, where they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, Different places are meant for different grades of living beings, according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We see also that even in this life, one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently, placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Patal are also changeable according to our own work. The philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and in other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of the demigods and also in the life of the dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of living beings are only of different degrees and quality. But no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshusu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. What is really being implied by all these scriptures is bringing to our realization how much we are spending our time in endeavors that are only going to provide temporary experiences and temporary happiness as well. And also being revealed is that we can engage in those activities that will free us from the miseries of those material activities. But we have to get out of the mode of believing we have to engage in material activities for our existence, for the continuance of our existence here. So what does that mean? If we're holding a job, if we're going to work every day faithfully, does Krishna look upon these things as something that shouldn't be done? But the consciousness that we do it in is what is being brought to our attention. Same thing with Veda Vyas being instructed by Narad Muni to give us the ability to know what to fill our minds with. And the activities of Krishna then, as our minds are filled with these activities, then we are also experiencing eternalness, because these pastimes are going on eternally. So our exposure to them as well gives us a taste and an experience at the moment we're hearing about that. So these conversations as well about Ekadasi, the Shrutis, that are conversations, side conversations, you might say, that Krishna has with his devotees, they're just as valuable. This discussion Krishna is having with Yudhishthira about the value of Ekadasi. This principle of Ekadasi, when you think of it as an activity devotees engage in, every month, we follow that, every 2 weeks, we follow that. But to a person in the material world, this is something so foreign to them. Worship of a bush, and then following, having the fast, and you can't eat beans and grains. It seems like to them a practice so out of the norm that this is why personal association with Krishna is so important, because we will have no other means of knowing where these precepts come from. And so what is being done by people who are on the outside trying to look in, just like seeing someone from a distance chanting their round or holding a bag in their hand and walking, pacing back and forth. Looks like they're doing nothing, right? Isn't it? And yet, that very activity of chanting they're engaged in, the most valuable act that we are being given instruction that we can follow, the most constructive act spiritually in Krishna consciousness is this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as the Dharma. And in each age, that Dharma is the most important act. Krishna is encouraging the souls, and not just some in the stage, as it reveals in the scripture, but everyone, for everyone to become free from the control of the modes of material energy. So everyone wants freedom, but everyone is thinking freedom is the ability to do whatever I want. And to a great extent, it is what it is, but that means we have to purify our wants. If our wants are in the right direction, then to have them fulfilled brings us satisfaction. But if we've got wants and desires that are at the end only the cause of miseries, that's what we will suffer as well. So this is why purifying the heart, purifying the mind, purifying the desires that we develop in our lives is so important to bring us the end result that we want from those desires. So we have desires for happiness, we have desires for fulfillment and satisfaction. And as is being pointed out, Srila Prabhupada is saying it's predestined before we even get here. The fact that we got here was predestined and known. I was sharing the other day about Brigu Maharaj, who knows the destiny of every single soul. If Brigu was here, he could look at you and tell you what day you're going to leave your body. And that science is passed down. Jagadguru has been given that from his father, who was in a chain as well of disciplic succession passed down from Brigu himself as a form of knowledge. And so what someone has been given by Krishna, then they have the ability to give it to others. And what he's giving to all of us is the holy name. All these other sideline abilities are minority abilities in comparison to what the holy name and chanting the holy name is going to allow us to experience in this life. It is the very most powerful activity for a human being to engage in as the Dharma. So that means for us, becoming pure is the most important thing for us to do. So with our acts, with our minds, with our thoughts, with the deeds of our lives, then every act becomes a purifying act that will give us the experience of purity. The purity, Srila Prabhupada said, is the force. The force. So what the force, when we're talking about the force, we're talking about that energy of God that is within all of us, that has the ability to cleanse our minds, to give us a pure vision of our own lives, our own purposes, what we have to do, what our schedules are, and know that in doing that as well, and we're, by carrying out those activities and instructions being given by the Supreme Person, we're going to get the supreme result. If someone with supreme intelligence tells you to do something, who themselves is filled with love for you, this is Krishna. He is love itself, and giving a means by which we can go back to him, to his eternal dwelling again. And just by simply following the instructions of him, then we get from him everything we need to do that. So not only is he the giver, the guide, but he's the giver of the means. He says, I am the ability in man. So if we find ourselves lacking in any way, we can know, especially in those ways pertaining to our service, that Krishna wants to give us the ability, that he is in us. By this way, he finds pleasure through us, because by engaging in those activities that he takes pleasure in, then we give him pleasure. Makes sense, right? So we develop only in our mind that I only want to do those things that I want to do for myself. This is the false ego that we've all been brought to the point of, even coming to Krishna consciousness. We may have had false ideas about what will we find in Krishna consciousness. We may have had the desire for one thing or another to come to Krishna consciousness. But once we do come and we surrender, we can know. Now, we have to get completely pure of our own will, even our own desires. How are we going to do that on our own? Practically speaking, it's impossible on our own. So this is why Srila Prabhupada, by establishing this ISKCON movement, and by interacting with each other then, we rub each other's edges. And in doing that, we polish each other. So a diamond, the only thing strong enough to polish a diamond is another diamond. They put them together in a tumbler and they come out smooth and shiny. So like that with us, we're in one big melting pot together. Some of us come from one background, another comes from another background. The United States is like that as well. But International Society of Krishna Consciousness as well, because as Krishna is saying, it is available to everyone. Yeah. But once we surrender, then we become the same kind of each other. We become devotees. So then we see each other on an equal platform. We don't look at each other from the kind of skin we have, the kind of backgrounds we have, the kind of bodies even that we have. Now that's no longer our criteria for measuring one's ability to give us friendship, association. But we do have to be very careful. And this is pointed out in the Ekadasi book. On this day, we especially don't take association from those who are eating these forbidden things, because it's association with Kali himself. Kali. Not goddess Kali, which is good association, but Kali, the incarnation of sin. Kali is that personality who dwells in every place where there is slaughterhouses, where there is gold, where there is brothels, or sinful, illicit sexual activities going on, and where there is intoxication. That's where there is Kali. And Kali brings with it all those four as an incarnation himself, as he is able to do through his seed, which by him entering into the grain and beans, he becomes that seed. It's his own seed. Then when a human being takes that seed into himself, he can give birth to that same kind of an evil demon. And this has happened over and over and over again in the world, and we see all these demons now in ruling positions. Yeah, it's actually demonic seed. So there is just as there is the function of the human being to be able to bring forth very elevated seeds to this planet from the heavenly planets, as we see, which has been done by souls in the past, and which is meant to be filling this planet. Those souls that have to fall down to take birth again from the heavenly planets, they can come to another middle planet. They can be transformed into a heavenly planet by the activities of the inhabitants of the planet. This verse was bringing out life on the planet Moon, on a moon planet. And the Vedas bring out that all these planets that we see with our naked eyes are inhabited. Every planet in the universe has life on it. The reason we can't see it is every one of these planets are hollow. That's how they're floating. Bhagavatam explains they're held up by the hot airs. Inside of them, they also have suns inside. Same way this earth does. There's a sun on the inside of the earth. And just I was realizing today, see, being conditioned as I am to having been living on the exterior of the surface of the earth, I am conditioned to believe that every day has 24 hours in it. Not necessarily so for them on the inner surface. See, they are experiencing day and night by a cloud. It's described in the Bible that there was a point in the history of the nation of Israel in which that was the way they were experiencing day and night through too. And what I have come to conclude about that from this study is God, in his infinite wisdom, just as he does with us in the temple, he can lead a group of people into a place they don't even know it's a sacred place. They don't even know they're being returned to the place of their forefathers. But given the opportunity to go through there, and with their consciousness corrupted, they have to leave again. They have to leave again. Two men were said to be able to go into the place called the Promised Land. Joshua and Caleb. Caleb, the word means dog, which in effect was spiritually a statement being made that in the future, the term dog was used in many spiritual schools of thought to represent low-born human beings. You were a dog if you weren't of an educated class. So, Christ, speaking to a woman at the well, he called her a dog, indirectly. Because he told her, he said, if you knew who you were talking to, and then he led her to understand that the position she was taking towards him was that he wasn't of the ability to just give knowledge to whoever he wanted to. Just the same way the instruction is given, don't cast your pearls before swine. We have the ninth offense. We don't preach the glories of the Supreme Person to ignorant people, atheistic people. Why? Because what they do to followers of truth, they try and do everything they can to find things against them that they can, to point to their activities as something that should be looked at as foolishness, right? Like chanting. We're chanting. So what you give to these people, feeding them things about activities that you hold very dear, they will look at as foolishness. Much like we look at their worship of the cross, in effect, which is like a knife would be for someone who's sentenced to death by cutting their heads off, you know.
Excuse me, God.
Yes.
They say they don't worship the cross.
Right, they don't worship it. But the amount of time spent, see what they don't, and you can ask them, what does worship mean when they say that? What does worship mean? You offer the words of your mouth in glorification of it, which the cross is the way of the path of the right Savior. They accredit it with power to do things that God can do. Isn't that worship?
Yeah.
Exactly. So see, as well, it's not only that cross that human beings are doing that with, though. They do that in their minds with every possession they hope to gain control of. They're making that in their minds number one to get now. And being instructed by people who have possession of so many things, they're being told, put a picture of it up on your mirror when you go to dress yourself in the morning and you look at this picture, then in your mind you envision what you're going to have. It's going to be yours because you have claimed it with your mind. And see, they make it to be their God. They're making all these things of the world. They are putting things of the world in the place where a devotee puts Krishna. What's going to give us happiness? What does a devotee think is going to bring him happiness? The acts of seva, devotional service, which we are being instructed. But what brings happiness in the mind of those in the world working for material benefit? A new car, a house, a relationship with a member of a family from far away. All these things are being put in their consciousness and ours, and have been in ours for millions of years. Replacing God, replacing Krishna. Because Krishna should be the only thought. This is the purity that is the force, is having only Krishna in our thought processes. Everything related to Krishna, everything we do, everything we talk about, all related to Krishna. And so then when he has that full capacity in our minds, to be in our minds with everything, we'll see how everything is connected to him. And then every act, every move that we make will be directly related to giving others Krishna. Every word we speak, every meal we cook, every conversation we have with others, all surrounding Krishna's precepts, Krishna's principles. And then Krishna will take pleasure through us and sharing that pleasure that he is having through us with us. That makes sense, right? So if Krishna is experiencing pleasure within the body that we are sharing with him, we're going to be experiencing pretty good pleasure there. The one from whom all pleasure, all happiness is coming. And he wants us to be happy. So we almost have to go out of our way to find the way to suffer. And that's what they're doing. All the pursuits of happiness is bringing suffering. So in effect, they're looking for suffering. Well, there was a funny story. 3 guys, one was named Trouble. They couldn't find Trouble. So they went to the police. And they raised such a ruckus. The police said, "Are you looking for trouble?" "Oh yeah, we're looking for trouble." Well, that's what people are looking for in their pursuits of happiness, but they're looking for trouble. All these pursuits and endeavors to try and satisfy the senses of the body, basically. And it's causing trouble. Because if you get in my way for my pleasure, then I'm going to cause you trouble, get in your way for your pleasure. You know, that's how the world is working. This is why Christ came with a message that if people try to trouble you, just let them do it. And just like the scripture says, if somebody is yelling and screaming at you all kinds of profanities, just hold your peace. And every good activity that that person has ever done in their life becomes to your credit. You gain all their pious activities just by holding your voice, just by being silent. Where is that found? That may be Vishnu Purana, I think. See, all these sideline booklets, they give little treasures, secret mysteries of life, all leading towards us developing as human beings, more perfect human beings, so that we can conduct ourselves as the kind of society that gets along with one another, so the whole world can be that way. We do it on a small scale, and the next temple does it on a small scale in their state, in their city, and every temple does it in a small way. And pretty soon we got a big way. Pretty soon everybody's involved in living together in harmony. That's a nice name for that house, in the Harmony House, right?
Harmony, yep, collective.
Yeah, collective, yeah. That's what we're doing. Collecting the best people of the society and making them work in harmony with one another. Yeah. Just like society should be. I guess class is about, we got 5 minutes. Questions, comments, realization.
Somebody wrote on Facebook, I think I might be too obsessed with Krishna. What better way to be?
Wow.
I think I might
See, you can say that of most forms of religion. Because with most forms of religion, the thing that is separating them from other religions are very much magnified in their expression of the way they believe God wants us to be. So if you come to concentrating on only that you think God is so interested, you got to speak in tongues, right? That's one of those things. You got to heal people, you know, that's another thing. And they all have in their minds these things that are so important to God. You got to do that. If you don't do that, you're not following God. So they become fanatic. That's what fanaticism is. We don't want to become fanatics to think Krishna is not all inclusive. So those forms of worship that we don't take part in, we don't condemn them for that because they're going to get what they want. But we have a higher place to go to that we can say, you can go there if you want on your path. But we have a path too. And if you compare the results both paths are offering, you will see eternity outside of this temporary place is much better than a temporary dwelling said to be eternal within a place that is going to be destroyed. So even the heavenly planets, with the exception of Dhruva-loka, are all going to be destroyed as well. And that's what all these fanaticisms are leading people to. They believe their fanaticism is going to bring them to that holy heaven, that sacred dwelling, where everybody believes like they do. And everybody believes that they have to believe like that in order to get there. We have the same philosophy, but we believe a little different than they do. And our philosophy is offering a different result as well. So all paths don't get to the same place, and not all people are wanting to get to the same place anyway. Just ask them. And if you ask them where heaven is, If you look in the sky, is heaven just one of those tiny dots? Or do they even think that those dots are the places to live in when you get to heaven? Like heaven is like some place that you can't see from here. Yeah. Unseeable. You can't know it from here. And God doesn't have enough knowledge about it himself to tell us where it is, how we get out of it, how do we get into it, and all this other stuff. It's just like you have to figure it out. Every man has to work out, as I say, his own salvation with fear and trembling. Krishna reveals what he does to the soul who has been serving him all his life. At the end of his life, how he gets back. It's all in Bhagavatam. Explains, he comes, and for that one that's pure, absolutely pure, he comes on Garuda himself. That's amazing. Think of all the things Krishna is doing in the universe, and he will personally come to take that soul back to Godhead. Whew. See how dear it is to Krishna for us to become pure and just think only about him. This person that is thinking we may be able to get too much of Krishna obviously is not in the most perfect place serving Krishna at this particular moment. Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to know about Krishna, who are you going to ask? Who are you going to ask about what Krishna is like? You're going to ask somebody that doesn't know who he is, or somebody that's serving him. So when Christians, so-called, Christian means like Christ, when they offer an opinion about what they think Christ is, all you have to do is ask them why they believe that. And then you'll find out you don't know anything about Krishna at all, for the most part. Some of them have an experience of a brother of a sister of a cousin, somebody else had somebody, had a bad experience. That's how it is, And even devotees come and go, and when they go, then, based on their own perspective of what they thought a spiritual leader should be, they see that in Srila Prabhupada. And so if they have a perverted reflection to begin with, then they're not going to see Srila Prabhupada for who he is. There's a book came out, Krishna Manifesto, I think it was. And one devotee in the movement, very much exalted by devotees as being a very advanced soul, who wrote this book about the manifesto being the takeover of the world, philosophically, but militarily also. And so it may come in the future that, see, in Vedic culture, there is such a thing as capital punishment. If you destroy the wealth of another being, that's reason to be killed. If you destroy the wealth of another, there are 4 people who can be killed in Vedic culture. And so, very severe, the way we look at it from the kind of culture we've developed. But see, there are people who have killed knowingly. The society knows they have killed multiple times, and the society as a whole looks at mercy as giving that person the ability to continue their existence here in the world. It's not mercy at all. That will only bring upon the soul who commits those acts of violence against those souls to reap more and more. The longer they spend then in a form of satisfaction living on this planet after performing those activities, their sinful reactions are building up more and more and more and more. So if the executioner is allowed, because the person who has to be executed, he suffers the pain before that for days. He experiences that death time and time and time again before it even happens. So that is a form of relief. Once he has gone through that punishment on this planet, then his suffering is reduced in the next manifestation. So that is real mercy. See, we got it backwards. We think letting the person live here longer is giving them mercy. No. So they got it all backwards. And because they've got it backwards, they're going to also have to suffer for the piled up suffering they've caused these people that they've so-called been lenient to. It's not leniency. When you let a child, as a parent, grow up with the ability to do whatever you want, no guidance whatsoever, that false ego has only the ability to bring the soul to hell. It's the only place the false ego has the ability to bring the soul. All these souls without guidance. We're the only ones with truth. Those that have truth are the only ones that can deliver the souls who don't have truth. And it's the majority of souls out there that don't have it. Even the ones on the so-called spiritual paths, for the most part, they don't have it. Because they're in it for the wrong reason. They're in it to win it. They're not in it to give it. To have something to give to others, to relieve others of their suffering. They're looking for something for themselves. And that's all false ego. And then when they get to a position of leadership and that false ego, then it creates chaos. That's what's ruling the world right now. Chaos is ruling. All the nations of the world are being ruled by chaos. Those that are seeking towards peaceful relationships with the world, they're trying to bring God consciousness, peacefulness to the world. We're not supposed to be killing one another. It's crazy. Yet we see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself did that. To bring an end to this stuff. And he even, before the war took place, he went and reasoned with the Kauravas more than you can imagine anybody, pleading with them, asking for their mercy. Just let the Pandavas have enough land to govern themselves. They don't need a big nation or kingdom like that, just enough cities for each of them to govern. That was their responsible position as Kshatriyas at that time. And they were told, we will not give them enough room that you could have on the head of a pin. That's what they said. So it's envy, it's arrogance, it's hatred, all these things boiling in people's hearts because their lives before they come to God, so conditioned by millions of lifetimes, conditioning, and then put in a position of leadership without knowledge. There's a quote in the Bible that says, one who is put in a position of leadership without knowledge is just like a beast that perishes. In other words, their life is no good for anything. And then when they die, everybody's happy. They're gone. So, just the opposite is true, though, for those who follow. In the precepts that God gives as guidance for us to be able to free others from. So if we follow those precepts, then we will be able to liberate these souls that we ourselves are seeing having difficulties in the world to function. With all these fears and doubts and worries and beliefs they have towards God in their minds, can you just imagine how bedraggled a life that would be? Constant. It's pain and suffering. They're getting constant headaches, anxiety, living in anxiety. Living in the temple, Srila Prabhupada said, you're automatically in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means no anxiety. No anxiety at all. You know, and I talk to Tears about what's going on in the outside. Don't talk about that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
Because, you know, here we are living in the most peaceful kind of place you could expect as a human being to be able to experience, isn't it? This temple, you just sit and listen, it's just total peacefulness, enabling the mind to become completely immersed in the things of God, the truths of God, the solid foundation of God's holiness, and being in a place where we can do things that pleases God. And we can know we're completely free from the control of the modes of material energy that we ourselves should be suffering from. But Krishna has chosen in his own will to now set us free from that, bring us all here together to become free together and experience the happiness of being free together. And that we can give that freedom to everyone we come in contact with by this chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Any comments, any questions? Jai. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bharati ki jai.